few years ago, I was driving to a friend's house that I had never been to before. The sun was shining, the breeze was cool, so naturally I had my windows down and my music up. If you've ever been to Santa Ana near the courthouse, you know that the streets are pretty weird. Some of them are one-way, some of them are two-way, but all of them are really confusing, at least to me. Because of that, I got lost when I was trying to find her house. I had a map in my hand, and I was driving through the intersection referring to said map when, bam, all of a sudden, another driver had hit me from the side. Fortunately, both of us were okay this time, but it was such a stupid thing that could have been avoided had I just been paying attention. But nope, I was distracted by my map, I was distracted by the fact that I was lost, and I was distracted by my loud music. Obviously, distracted driving is a big issue for me because I'm guilty of causing an accident from it. But also because every day as I'm driving, I see at least one driver next to me that's also distracted. And they're putting your life at risk, my life at risk, and their life at risk. Today I want to talk to you about just what distracted driving is, how dangerous and risky it is to engage in, and what I think is wrong with our current solution. So let's discuss what distracted driving is and the three main types. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, distracted driving can be classified as any non-driving activity a person engages in that has the potential to distract him or her from the primary task of driving safely. And the Department of Transportation recognizes three main types of distracted driving. The first type of driving distraction is visual, and that type of distraction takes your eyes off the road. An example of this would be if you're driving along the freeway and you're checking out the accident that just occurred on the side of the road. And the second type of driving distraction is a manual distraction. And a manual distraction is taking your hands off the wheel. An example of this would be if you're texting your friend back or updating your Facebook status about the accident you just saw on the side of the road. And the third type of driving distraction is cognitive distraction, which is taking your mind off the task of driving. Cognitive distraction happens if you're merely having a conversation with a passenger in your car. Distracted driving comes in various forms, so we most commonly think of cell phone use, including texting while driving. If you are text messaging, a study done by the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute back in July of '09 says that you are 20 times more likely to get into a crash than driving while not using a phone. Also, in a 6-second duration, those that were texting kept their eyes off the road for 4.6 seconds. And according to Virginia Tech, that equates to the driver traveling the length of a football field at 55 miles per hour without looking at the road. And although using a cell phone in any way while driving does increase your chances of being involved in a crash, research done by the Department of Transportation shows that distractions such as eating, tending to a small child or animal, or even changing the station on your radio occur more frequently and are just as dangerous as using your cell phone and driving. So let's take a look at some of the risks and statistics of distracted driving. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports that nearly 6,000 people died in 2008 as a result of distracted driving. That number may seem small, but that's 16% of all the total car crash fatalities. And every single one of those deaths was preventable. The same report states that over 500,000 people were injured in accidents involving distracted driving. And keep in mind that those injuries range from minor whiplash to the severe and permanent injury of dismemberment. And that takes me to my story of J.C. Good. J.C. had just graduated college. Her and her parents were driving home when a teen driving a minivan, distracted by his cell phone, ran a red light. To avoid a head-on collision with the minivan, a semi-truck driver had to jerk his wheel. This caused the semi to swerve and collide into the goods car. J.C. was given a 10% chance of survival, and unfortunately both of her parents were murdered upon impact. The crash left her with a crushed pelvis and brain injury, resulting in cognitive impairment. J.C. had to learn to walk again, she had to learn to talk again, and she only has one functioning arm. Of her parents' death, J.C. has said, "It was the greatest loss just so a kid could talk on the phone. My parents were just the greatest people. It was a 90-minute ride, the same day I graduated college. It was supposed to be the best day of my life." J.C. still suffers physical impairment from the accident, and she was the most innocent party in this equation, the passenger in a car whose driver was paying attention to the road. And as you can see from these statistics, as well as JC's story, distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic. Our current solution to this major issue is to ban or limit cell phone use in cars, which is a great starting point. However, according to research done by AAA, no studies show that hands-free phones offer significant safety advantages over handheld phones, and there are two reasons why. The first reason why is because the most distracting factor while talking on the phone is the conversation that you are having and not the phone itself. And the second reason why banning a hands-free phone doesn't offer safety advantages is because it doesn't address the larger issue, which are the distractors themselves, like the radio, passengers, food, and those are all as equal as distracting as cell phones. Another reason legislation won't work is because nobody can legislate everything that someone does in his or her car. We cannot ban people from changing their radio station, and we can't stop people from having a conversation with their passenger if they do choose to do so. But what we can do is make the decision within ourselves to not drive while distracted. According to a nationwide mutual insurance survey, more than 80% of drivers admit to blatantly hazardous behavior, including changing clothes, steering with a foot, painting nails, and shaving, all while driving. And my suggestion to you would be that if you need to look at a map, you should pull over and check it out. If you know that you're going to be traveling with an animal, you make sure you put it in a crate. And if you are hungry, pull into the parking lot or wait until you get to your destination to enjoy your food. According to textually.org, there is even a new app you can install on your phone called Otter, and it turns off received messages when the phone is moving faster than 10 to 15 miles per hour. And there are so many simple decisions that we can make to curb this individual that the law cannot, that it would be stupid for us not to. And there are so many reasons for distracted driving, including busy lifestyles, stressful jobs, an accident on the side of the road, and even the presence of children and pets in our car. But to me, all of that is just excuses. Every accident and death involving distracted driving is 100% preventable. With all of the information you have just learned about distracted driving, I hope you will think twice about picking up the phone next time it rings when you're driving, or wait to put your mascara on until you get to your location in our park. These little choices can save your life or someone else's innocent life, like JC or her parents. But the choice begins with you, and it begins with me. And whether or not you're religious, I think you can appreciate a bumper sticker I saw as I was driving the other day. Honk if you love Jesus, text if you want to meet him.
So, Paul, what did you think?
I thought it was very well structured. It flowed very well. I got a lot out of it, and the only thing is, like, there's really like no argument against it. So it's kind of like stating what not what we all know, but like what is kind of like common sense. But obviously people don't have the common sense to not do that. But I really liked it, and it kept me. I don't know. I paid attention, so.
All right. Well, good.
It's one of those where
no, that's good.
Kept my attention.
That's good. That's fine. I'll give two quick examples of things that did well to keep the attention. First of all, you had an introduction that was creative. It's not another survey. It's not just a rhetorical question. You've got a story that you're telling, and you get us involved with your own personal experience there. And then at the end, in addition to the summary, you've got a nice stinger line to get out of the speech with. So you've done something to make it more interesting to listen to, and that's helpful. Even if you've got a good argument, sometimes it can be dull and dry, and it's just like listening to somebody reading a paper is not very interesting. And you've made an attempt to make it work better, so I appreciated that. It's all very well organized. I thought you did a very good job citing your material. I thought you introduced a couple of good stories here and there to help get the emotional content in there as well. Paul's right, there's nothing controversial about it, but it is a motivational speech. You know, how can we address this problem? What other things can we do? And I like the fact that you recognize the truth is you can't legislate everything. This is something that individuals have to do, so how do we get individuals to do those things? And I think that you give people enough negative visualization that they should at least be motivated somewhat about it. I doubt that they'll stop drinking their coffee in the car, though.